Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Game 6 of the Women's World Championship. Ju Wenjun, Tanzania. It's the final game in Shanghai. Ju Wenjun leads the match 3-2 in her home turf before they travel to Tanzania's home, all in China. Yesterday was an incredible game. Tanzania made a couple of mistakes, and Ju Wenjun punished her, played like the Terminator. It was utter dominance from the world champion. Can Tanzania bounce back today? She has the white pieces. All the games so far have been decisive, have been with the white pieces. And in her last game in the English, which is what she plays again today with c4, Ju Wenjun played e6, and they had a complicated game. It was a long game. Tanzania maybe missed one or two chances. Ju Wenjun defended tenaciously, and they played out to a draw. Well, I think we get a repeat of the first game Tanzania had with white pieces. Ju Wenjun goes back to knight f6, knight to f3, and we get this system, where we don't commit the d or the e pawns from white just yet. We opt for this fianchetto, and now it gives black the chance to play d5, and bishop here, and c5, and we get this kind of structure. We now play cd, ed, and g3 to go bishop to g2, and now Ju Wenjun pushes the pawn forward, because it may have become a target here, and now you're just looking to clamp down on these dark squares. That's why after castles and bishop to e7, we get firstly knight to a3. You obviously can't go there, and the knight actually was probably going to be pretty useful on c4 anyway, controlling e5 and sorts of squares. Castles, and now e3, just striking back at this structure, asking Ju Wenjun what she's going to do. And here we get takes. Now, you can trade queens. You can trade queens, but it's probably better for white. Yeah, it's better for white. White's pieces are better coordinated. This bishop is going to give white long-term compensation. So the best thing to do is to keep the queens on the board or trade on your own terms. So that's why we get bishop to f5. No trade of queens just yet. We jump the knight into the center. Takes. And now a very simple move, queen c7. Protecting this pawn that the bishop was pressuring, and preparing to and getting the battery sorted with the queen and bishop to go and trade off the powerful fianchettoed bishop. So that's why we get queen to e2, bishop h3, and now queen f3, which is a strange move to me. The best move here for white is to take this bishop, and then after queen takes h3, to play bishop takes f6, which all looks very strange, but then you play rook ad1, and it thinks this position is the best that white can get, which does look very bleak and very drawish, I have to admit. But the alternative is to play queen f3, and after takes, which is the only move really for black, because you're putting massive amounts of pressure, because what this does is it puts more pressure on this pawn. So now if you don't take, and queen takes, we can take that pawn. So you have to take, king takes, best move, and now queen e6. The engine again, strangely enough, suggests just giving up the bishop and playing like rook ad1, getting it out of the way. Very, very strange to give up that fianchettoed bishop. Well, not fianchettoed anymore. So Tanzania makes a more human move and retreats the bishop back to b2. And now we get the knight jumping forward to e4, rook f d1, rook a d8, not allowing Tanzania to just control the file. The rooks now stare at each other. You don't want to be the one to take and surrender the file. So if white takes, black takes and controls the file. So we bring our knight towards the center of the board. Our players are actually fairly balanced on time. We've got to move 20. Kind of. But here, Ju Wenjun takes the initiative of the game. The engine gives this a slightly better for black, meaning she's equalized. White doesn't really have any pressure. But how does black really go forward in this position? It's actually very simple. b5. You target the knight, because it doesn't really have that many useful squares to go to. It can go to e5. It can go back to a3. It can go to a5. And it can't go back there. So you either go to the edge of the board or you go to the center of the board, which is here. And what this does, it's just a tactical trick, because it explains the next move. This knight is now undefended. So The best move again, f5. Ju Wenjun has played this perfectly, and now she is definitely seizing the initiative. White senses the pressure, and here you've got a few choices to make. So you can undermine the defense of this knight by playing g4. You can play queen to e2, putting pressure and getting out the way of the rook, should it ever open up. Or you can play what Zhongyi played in the game. It's the engine's third choice, but it's a mistake, and that's knight to d3. Shouldn't be going back. There's a general rule or understanding. If you don't need to go backwards, you shouldn't. She was probably worried about bishop to f6, putting pressure on this knight, and after that the bishop. That's probably why queen e2 is useful, because you protect the bishop. It's the most useful move. Instead, we drop the knight back, and now g5. Ice cold. You know why g5 is getting a blue mark here? Not because Ju Wenjun's cold, it's because it's the best move. It's a great move. It's the only move to seize the initiative thoroughly, because you need to launch a kingside attack, so g5. Knight to e1, further retreating, and now here you need to play c4. Yes, it looks counterintuitive. You just launched two queenside pawns, but you need to play c4. It is, when the engine thinks, it is the best move. c4 takes, or the queen getting active. The rooks still staring at each other. Instead, you can play c4, or you can play g4 now, hitting the queen, forcing it back to e2. Instead of that, I mean, you can even play a5 if you really want, further capitalizing space on the king side. Instead of that, we get bishop f6. And Zhongyi is let off the hook because we get trade, and we just chop everything. Everything gets chopped off the board. The engine thinks it's 0-0-0 now. We offer a queen trade, and I think Ju Wenjun's just liquefying. She's up in the match. She can take a draw with the black pieces, and fairly comfortable one at that. Zhongyi keeps playing though, because she's down. She's got to at least play this out for a proper draw. Not that there's improper draws really, but she's got to play this out until it's absolutely a draw. There's still a queen, there's still a knight, there's still pawns. The black king is not very safe, so you might be able to pick off some of the pawns. King to g7. Now the best move again, queen e8, a6, knight to f3, which might be a step in the wrong direction. You can start already bringing the king. You can play h3, or you can play queen c8. Knight f3 is maybe a step in the wrong direction, because after knight f6, hitting the queen and kicking it out, you can play h6, and after h4, which is a mistake from Zhongyi, you can play g4. Gaining space, and after check, we are forced to trade queens. And now, a very important move. Which way do you go? Do you go to knight to d2, or do you go knight e1? You need to think here about your future prospects, and not in time pressure, but maybe misunderstanding what is required from the position. I don't know. I'm not a strong enough player as Zhongyi. She elects to play knight to d2, and Ju Wenjun is winning again. Knight endgames are very complex. Why are they complex? Because even if you go up a pawn, you cannot checkmate with a knight. So if all the pawns disappeared, it's a draw. So you need to have a dominant position, and you need to queen a pawn. Because even if you go up a pawn, I sacrifice my knight for it. So you need to be able to get it through all the way. And that's what's very important here. So Ju Wenjun, proper endgame technique here. After a trade of pawns, marches her king. Zhongyi hasn't moved her king, she moved a pawn. And look at this knight. It's misplaced. It has to make another move. It gets back passive to f2. It does put pressure, which Ju Wenjun defends. And now the kings come forward. And look at this, h5. Sealing the deal. It's -5. Ju Wenjun is completely winning. a4 is the last try, but king c3. Takes. Even though knight can go in, we can bring our knight in. Take this, and we can trade off a couple of pawns. Ju Wenjun's now up a pawn. She kicks out the knight, grabs the second pawn to go, and here we get a pawn race, and g2 is the winning move. Why is it winning? You might say, because aren't we going to queen like this? Queen. Isn't this going to be a draw? Well, no, because Ju Wenjun would play g2, and even though you would go here, she would go knight e5. and there's nothing you can do to stop me promoting. And even though you can promote, you promote into a fork. And you would lose your queen, and I would promote. And there's nothing you can do about it, and it would be mate. Ju Wenjun wins and now has a 2-game lead in the match. Tanzania has got her work cut out for her. She's really struggled these last 2 games. Ju Wenjun hasn't done anything amazing. Tanzania's maybe just overpressed, maybe looked too ambitious, which is a strange thing to say when you're trying to win the World Championship. But it's very difficult. Now this match, if Ju Wenjun wins another game, she wins the whole thing. Tanzania cannot afford another loss, and she has to claw 2 games back to just tie the scores. It's now 4-2 after 6 games. They will have 2 days, a rest day and a day for travel, as they travel to their new location for the remaining 6 games. How do you see this going any other way than Ju Wenjun? She has had an incredible match. She lost game 2. She was down a game. She came back the very next game and won again. And she's now won effectively 3 without score back from Tanzania. Because it was win in game 3, a draw in game 4, and wins in game 5 and game 6. Absolutely incredible from Ju Wenjun. And she's showing why she's probably one of the most dominant world champions, female or male, in history. She could potentially become a 5-time classical world champion. She may even have the Triple Crown. I'll have to double check. She's definitely the World Blitz champion. I made a video about that. Absolutely incredible play. Absolutely incredible. I'll see you next time.